What up, techies and gamers? This is your boy Jermaine back with another video. Welcome to Tech Toys and Gaming. And if it's your 30th time, welcome back again. And in today's video, we're going to talk about something I've talked about before in the past. And it's related to the Western Digital Black P10 gaming drive, as well as the Toshiba Canvio drive. Now, I have done a previous, I guess, head-to-head battle between those two hard drives. You may want to have to. What am I talking about? And in that video, I talked about the differences between the two drives, did a head-to-head comparison. If you want to go ahead and check out that video, check the link in the description right there. Look at the link, just click it, it'll go there. So in that scenario, I had it set up in a specific environment where I had both drives formatted to the same exFAT format, just so that it's compatible both on Windows and Mac, right? Being right for both platforms. And they were both on 3.0 USB ports. That's how I did all of the testing, right? But what I did not do, and what I will do in this video, is demonstrate how these drives operate on a 3.1 Gen 1 and Gen 2 ports on my gaming PC, right? So I do have those ports available. Only one of those drives seems to be compatible with the 3.1 and above drive, right? Maybe, maybe not. And we're gonna talk about that right now. And if you're curious to see which drive would actually be the better drive, and which would be the more, I guess, future-proof drive, then stay tuned. We're gonna look at that right now in 3. If I wave my finger one more time. So yeah, let's talk about these two drives and see which is the better buy, which is the right buy, which is better in terms of future-proofing for gaming, you know, depending on whatever your platform is, your motherboard, whatever USB ports, right? They're not all the same. Beware of any marketing gimmicks you see online. Anything that advertises itself as a game drive, right? You never know what they're talking about. Sounds good, but is it really good, right? Which one do you really need and want? All right, so the retesting of these drives on the 3.1 Gen 1 and Gen 2 USB ports, I had to actually go ahead and reformat them back to the exFAT, wipe them completely clean, and starting from scratch. So I went ahead and formatted both as exFAT and connected them both into 3.1 Gen 1 USB ports on my gaming machine, right? And lo and behold, some weird things have happened in the process. So pay attention. Now, the results for both drives were essentially the same over the exFAT format on these 3.1 Gen 1 USB ports as they were on 3.0 ports, right? Like I did in my previous video. Check the link. Oh, I did that already. What? Again, the Toshiba came out on top, 20 to 25 megabytes faster than the WD Black P10 drive, right? No differences there. However, when I plugged these two into the 3.1 Gen 2 ports, right? That's when things tend to get a little turbulent. So as you may have it, the Western Digital drive performed pretty much the same across all USB ports, 3.1 Gen 1 and Gen 2, still hanging around, I don't know, 120, 125 megabits on the read write, give or take a little bit, right? The results vary depending on the climate in my room, how hungry I was, what. But for the Toshiba, not so much, right? On the 3.1 port, on the 3.1 Gen 1 port, it performed with 160 megabytes write speed and close to it on the read speed, about 150-ish, 155, I don't know, they kind of varied. However, when I plugged the Toshiba into the 3.1 Gen 2, now we're seeing problems come up. On the 3.1 Gen 2, the Toshiba will max out at 40 megabytes write speed, read speed, right? At least in my testing on the 3.1 Gen 2 USB ports. Now, this is for the model DTB420 Toshiba drive. However, if you go ahead and reformat that, so I went ahead, jumped the gun, and refornicated. What? I reformatted both drives. I reformatted both drives to the Ntfs format, which is basically a Windows-based format, right? So I format any one of these two drives as Ntfs, and I go ahead and I plug it into a Mac, into an iPad, iPhone. You're gonna see at the bottom when you open up your Files app that it's only read, right? Read only. So you won't be able to write to it. So there's a limitation with Ntfs on Mac OS. So be mindful of that. After reformat, Ntfs, plugged the Toshiba into a 3.1 Gen 2 port. I got my read speeds back, my read and write speeds back up to 160, 150. Awesome sauces. So as long as I'm running that format and I have no use for the exFAT to be able to plug it into a Mac, I'm good to go. I can take full advantage of the read and write speeds. So in my scenario, I would probably just have to take one for gaming, which I would probably just use the Toshiba because it is faster for me, right? And I'll use that in the Ntfs format for Windows. That's my gaming platform. Hopefully it's yours as well. And I'm good to go. High read speeds, definitely high write speeds. The write speeds are even faster. For the WD Black, I would format it as an exFAT and use it for media, for transferring files to and fro, right? Mac OS because I use my iPad, I use my Windows machine, I use my iPhone, I use Linux. And why would I use a Toshiba? Well, just looking at the speeds of file transfer, right? So I did a little example with a 13 gig plus file from my gaming PC, right? The file itself was a media file, video file. My machine is running off SSD and M.2 off of this particular drive I was transferring the file from, and dragging and dropping it over to the Western Digital Black. You'll see that it took a lot more time to transfer the file from one drive to the next than the Toshiba, right? Granted, this is only a 13 gig file, but if you're downloading and installing a huge game that is 60, 70, 80 gigs, 100 gig game. Hi, Tech Indie Gamers. So what is the total of all that, right? The total sum in any event is that these are both, again, HDDs. They're hard drives. They are capped out simply by the makeup of their hardware, right? These are mechanical drives. So if I put it into a 6.0 port, it doesn't make a difference. They're gonna cap out where they're gonna cap out at, right? So essentially 3.0, 3.1, 3.2, it wouldn't make a difference. These drives they're not being limited in any way by the ports themselves, right? In fact, they can't even take advantage of the full speeds of what these 3.0 and 3.2 ports can do. If you're gonna get an HDD, look at the speeds, look at the RPMs, right? If you're gonna get something fast, get something that's 7,200. These are both 5,400 RPMs. They're gonna go only but so fast, and they are capped. So it looks like for me, testing the Western Digital Black, I pretty much capped it out at 130, 135 write speed, 123, 125 maybe on the read speed. So it's pretty significant, you know, when the time starts to compound and the files get bigger and larger and it requires more time to transfer more data. So yeah, the Western Digital drive will be left behind if you did it for like 2 hours. One more thing that I did want to make mention of. Now, when I did make the transfer from the SSD to the Western Digital Black, now you see when I dropped the file, that initialization period, right? That first couple of seconds while it was beginning the transfer, there was some stagnation, right? You see there was a fluctuation in the speeds. It went up and down, it staggered for a few seconds, and then it stabled off somewhere, you know, I don't know, the 3 to 4 second mark, you know, so you lose that big time gap where you're just getting like 20, 30, 17 megabytes a second, right when you're, you know, just getting started, and then it flattens out at 120, even below 120, right? I've seen like 117 at some points, so pretty much slower, but that also gave it its disadvantage. So if you look at the Toshiba example, why would my hand hold up so long? What is all that? While on the flip side, the Toshiba did not skip a beat. You may see very minor 1 second kind of fluctuation, and it wasn't even that low, but then it just kind of reached its peak and went all the way across at that very peak speed, which is about 150-ish, right? 145, 150 up and down right there. That little wavelength of speed, right? Very steady across all the way to the end. World apart, right? That's what makes the difference. And I've tried it a couple of times. I've dragged and dropped the files from the SSD to the Western Digital, and I was still getting that initialization stagnation, right? What is that about, Western Digital? What is that about? I don't know. I'm gonna go back to the lab, to the drawing board, look that up. And in the meantime, you let me know if this was informative. You let me know if you're still gonna go with the Western Digital, and how I still have not convinced you that the Toshiba is still a superior drive in this instance. Then I don't know what will. All right, Tech Indie Gamers, that's all I got for you. I was just trying to help you make a better purchase. Hopefully it gives you some insight and some information, since I have had these drives for quite some time and been using them. So take my word for it. or not, throw it out the window with your iPhone. What? And there goes your daily dose of tech entertainment. Thanks for stopping by with Tech Toys and Gaming with Jermaine. Again, at the end, I said that already.
Oh, wow. Can I get up there?